Over the years, me and Lenny have come across lots of band bios, and the vast majority of them have been shit.
Very shit.
So we thought we'd make a video today to talk to you about how to actually write a good band bio. Okay, so in case you don't know, a bio is usually a short bit of text that explains who you are as a band, what kind of music you make, your influences, things like that. These are primarily used for things like about pages on websites. Bios go on social media all the time, or in press packs. And ideally, you want to be creating a slightly different bio for each one of those things. A lot of artists, when they are writing a bio, go into way too much detail. They say what guitar they first bought when they were 12, they say what fucking guitar picks they use. They go into way too much detail that people do not give a shit about. So it's up to you to decide what you think your audience will be interested in or not. I guarantee you, unless you're the biggest band on earth, they're not going to give a shit what guitar strings you use. A thing to remember is a bio is not about you. It's not about your birthday, it's not about your fucking hair colour, it's not about any of that, it's about your music. So you have to describe your music in your bio. So there's a lot of different ways to write bios, and there's a lot of different places that you can use different written bios. So first of all, the most common kind of bio that we come across is the long bio. Long bios are primarily used on things like press packs or about pages on websites. They're the ones where you go into a bit more detail about who you are as an artist. So a long bio is the place to put things like where you're from, who your members are, how many members you have, what kind of music you play, your influences, and your achievements as a band so far. Ideally, your long bio shouldn't really be more than a big paragraph, really. Like, I've seen some bios before that are like 7 paragraphs, and that is like, we're not writing a book, we're not writing the biography book here, we're writing a short description of what your band is. If your bio is longer than that, chances are people aren't going to read it. People are only going to read halfway down and just lose interest. One thing to remember when you are writing a long bio is that you want your listeners to come up with their own interpretation of your music, i.e. you don't want to tell them what your music sounds like. You don't want to say, our music sounds like Queens of the Stone Age, because they might not think that. Don't say things like, we have big guitar riffs and soaring solos and shit like that, because every band puts stuff like that. That doesn't describe anything. Instead of listing bands that you think you sound like, list bands that have influenced you, because you might have been influenced by Queens of the Stone Age, and you might think you sound like them, but in reality, you have evolved your sound that much now that you actually sound nothing like them. So saying that you sound like them is kind of pointless. This can also make people who are reading your bio have predetermined opinions about you, because they might not like Queens of the Stone Age, but they might end up liking you if they actually took the time to listen to you. But if you have said that you sound like Queens of the Stone Age in your bio, why would they listen if you've already said what bands you sound like? It's just like, oh, I'll just listen to Queens of the Stone Age then. It's like, oh, we sound like Iron Maiden. Oh, I don't like Iron Maiden, I'm not going to listen to them. When in reality, you don't sound like Iron Maiden. You are the worst judge of your own music, because the way you write it and the way you hear it is totally different to what other people hear it. When you write a song, you hear it totally differently to everybody else. So let people decide what your music sounds like. Give yourself more credit. You're not a carbon copy of another band, so just say your influences and don't say who you sound like. Let your listeners decide who you sound like.
It's also worth saying that, like, Iron Maiden and Queens of the Stone Age already exist. So there is no need for you to be like, oh, we're just like this. Yeah, it's fine. That already exists. Make your own thing. Like,
Arctic Monkeys copy bands. A few years ago, a load of indie bands came on the scene that wanted to be just like the Arctic Monkeys, and oh yeah, we're the next Arctic Monkeys. And they just sounded like Arctic Monkeys, but a bit worse. And now Arctic Monkeys sound nothing like what they used to sound like. They actually sound like David Bowie, which is fucking weird, but, you know, whatever.
Yeah, but enter now the Sherlocks to fill that gap.
On the flip side to that, you can just write a short bio. This can just be a 1-2 sentence thing that sticks on your social media pages or whatever. Pages. This can be a 2-3 sentence thing that you just stick on your social medias universally, and it just kind of describes you, or maybe it doesn't describe you. What's yours, Lenny?
We have, we make loud music. You'd like it.
Yeah, that doesn't say anything about them whatsoever, because you don't really need to. You don't want your bio to be the first impression someone has of you. Ideally, you want people to listen to your music and then come up with their own opinions, so maybe don't try to give them opinions with a really long and detailed bio, but that's just our little advice.
Use it as a tagline to kind of get people into it rather than actually making it, I don't know, make it its own little thing that's kind of, oh, that's kind of cool, rather than just describing your music. Like you, I know you don't like talking about your own band, but you have horrendous music for horrendous people.
Horrible music for horrible people.
Okay, either way, like, it's just fucking, that's intriguing more than it is oh, they're just...
Yeah, if you've got a really long, detailed bio, people feel like they don't have to listen to music because they've just pretty much... They can picture what your music's going to sound like, and then they just... What's the point in listening to it? Because there's no further intrigue. What I would recommend is to do a short bio / tagline for your social media pages, and then save your long bio for press and your website. This mainly applies to press because when someone's writing a review about you or featuring your music video or whatever, they want some information about you. They want to know the names of the members and what each of you play. But save that for press. The common rabble doesn't really need to know that. Alternatively, you can kind of scrap the whole idea of description in a bio by just listing your achievements. I suppose this is more of a literal translation of the word biography, because you're just saying like your major milestones as an act, which I suppose, well, I don't know, what do you think about that?
I'm fine with it because I think it speaks louder than just being like, oh, we have loud drums. Like, anyone could write that. If you say, we headlined Download Festival last year, that speaks for itself and doesn't demean the music. It doesn't...
I suppose it's kind of similar to like writing a story, isn't it? You want to show people something, you don't want to tell them things.
Yeah, it's like when people promote books, they are more likely, if they have them, to give you quotes that have been said about the book to make it look good, rather than just tell you what happened.
Another thing as well, if you have any quotes from notable press people or radio, put them in your bio. That's always handy. We would recommend that in your bio you have more written about you than by you. So if you have loads of quotes from press or radio, put them in and maybe only have a tiny little tagline. Having that partnered with a list of your milestones says a hell of a lot more than a bio that just says, we have thundering drums and epic riffs. Because anyone can write that. If you have a list of your milestones and then a list of quotes about you, that says a hell of a lot more than that. The most important thing to remember when you're writing a bio is to be creative. Do something a little bit different. Most band bios that we read, as I said at the start of this video, are shit because they're all the same. They all say, oh, we're a band from London and we play epic riffs and amazing drums and shit like that. And it's like, anybody could write that. It's not creative, it's unoriginal, and it is shit. So do better, please. If you want to see more videos from this series, click over there. And if you want to see our best of playlist, click over there. The video that we did last week about the Arctic Monkeys song went kind of mad, didn't it? Jesus Christ, that blew up overnight. So thank you for the support on that. It's been really nice.
And hello to all the new subscribers. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, we didn't say anything controversial, did we? We were just...
No, we censored
Makes a
ourselves.
change from royal blood.